Beautiful day out today. I wanted to talk a little bit more. I made a video about stones and I wanted to go more in depth about them. So I guess actually this would be like a part 2. But I mentioned about how when we pick up a stone and we go throw it, and we have a choice at that point to either throw the stone or to reflect on the stone. In the other video I had mentioned that there was 3 different layers of stones. There's the spiritual stones, which I spoke of. Then there's the physical stones in the body. Gallstones, bladder stones, kidney stones. Interesting thing with those stones is that they're attacking organs. They're found in organs that are used to, these organs, their function is to cleanse and purify the body. And I'm going to connect the dot to that, to the spiritual stone. And then there's also the stones that you use for a foundation on a house. When you're building a house, you put a stone foundation. Stone foundation also is spiritual sense, is your foundation of who you are and where you stand. Your beliefs, your path, your true nature. To thy own self be true. When we are pulling that stone, we're actually pulling it from our foundation. And we're weakening our foundation at that moment by throwing the stone. Sometimes we don't. We pick up the stone, we're ready to throw it, but we stop. And then we end up holding the stone. We don't reflect on it. We take it, we tuck it, we put it back. In doing so, we're laying that stone to fester inside of us, spiritually. Now, everything that happens to us from a level of consciousness, from a level of spiritualism, which is consciousness actually, it becomes a disease. Disease is actually 2 words. Dis-ease. It's disease of the body, but it's dis-ease of the spirit. And it becomes physical because everything that moves forward from the consciousness, it becomes physical. It enters the physical realm. So we end up making ourselves sick because we don't release the stone. We hold it. We put it back. And we're not even putting it back with mortar. We're not even putting it back and cementing it in. We're just tossing it. It makes for a very weak foundation. Now, when you take that stone and you reflect on it, and you ask yourself, why? What is it I'm not seeing? Why am I reacting? And you need a mirror sometimes. You need a mirror to sit down and look yourself in the eye and say, what's going on? Mirrors serve more of a purpose than just using them to put on makeup, comb your hair, and shave your face, among other things. Mirrors reflect back who you are. So when we take that stone and we reflect on it, and we get it, and we understand, we've actually repaired the stone that was in our foundation. We put it back in our foundation. Only this time, the mortar that we use is the faith, because we have a different perspective, a different understanding. And we have no interest in sitting in judgment at that point, because you come to a point where you realize you've been there, you've done that, you know better, you know different. We only look at this one life. We only look at the life we're in. We don't remember the other lives, the timelines of those lives, because we only have one life, but many times in which to live it. Because, I mean, you only know what you're told, right? It's interesting when you really get to the depth of that. It really is. Kind of makes me think of the movie Total Recall, and it makes you wonder what goes on when you're sleeping. And I don't even think it would video record it if you did, if you tried. Because I think it's a different type of consciousness, a different reality that we wake up to in our sleep. And then we forget it. Sometimes we remember the dreams. Sometimes we don't. But those stones that we put back, when we put them back in the foundation, we're strengthening our foundation that we stand on. Everybody talks about the foundation of the church. They look at it as a physical building. But the thing is, you're the church. You're the temple. Your body houses the divine spark. Not the building, not the church. That's just 4 walls and a roof where people get together to hear somebody lecture, while some will fall asleep, some will listen, others like to gossip, some like to get dressed up. It's not what it's about. Because when you walk out the door, you're back to doing the same old, same old. That's not what the Creator is looking for. That's not what the Creator wants. Creator doesn't want you to go in and listen. No. The Creator wants you to pay attention. And listen. Don't hear. Listen. Because those stones are your foundation. And when you're tearing that foundation apart, it doesn't matter how many people you have. You could have a whole congregation standing there saying the same thing. When you go to stand in front of your Creator, you're not going as a congregation. You're going as an individual. As an individual. And it doesn't matter what we say, what we do. Creator sees everything. How much do we think we get away with those stones? We don't. The reason being, that divine spark inside of you is a piece of the Creator. How can the Creator not see? Every time you throw a stone, Creator's watching you. Creator's right there throwing the stone with you. Because it's you. But you're not aware of that. And when that day comes, and we look back at things that we've done, If you can't get the depth of the stone and understand it, it's a cracked foundation. Because when you go to stand in front of your Creator, there's not going to be any excuses at all. None. The Creator's going to know exactly what you were feeling, what you were thinking. You can tell anybody anything you want to justify whether it's good or bad. You can tell anybody anything. But when you look in the mirror, there's no denying. There's no getting past it at all. You know, I've been staying away from Facebook. Facebook, everybody's on a roll. People are nitpicking each other. People are wishing karma on each other. People are just being down outright mean, vicious. They don't care. Some of them claim to be the chosen. You know that's a sin in itself. Because you don't know. You don't know until the day it comes. And the people that are chosen, they're not on Facebook running their mouths, praising themselves. An awful lot of stone throwing going on out there right now in that world. It's bad. It's a plague of stones. It's what it is. If we're going to make a difference, we start with ourselves. This fighting each other, ain't nobody better than the other. Never has been. Nobody has any special abilities. Nobody's different. Y'all the same. We all are. But you know, those stones, they're coming from your foundation. And every time you pull a stone out, you're putting a hole in your foundation. Every time you throw a stone, you're carrying a spiritual stone in your back. That's the stone that stayed behind because you had no right to judge. None. None of us do at all. I don't care who the hell you think you are. Nobody. No one has that right. Except the Creator. And anybody that thinks they do have that right, you're on an ego trip. Big time. My advice to you is, get over it. Get over yourself. Everybody's special. Everyone is unique. It's one thing I can say for the Creator versus humankind. Creator's never judged. Never once did they judge. Have they discriminated? Only ones with egos do that. And your ego, that's your demon right there. That's the demon. That's the beast. That's what takes over. Because you feel the adrenaline rush that it creates. What is it, dopamine or something like that? The brain creates upon stress. When the body gets too high, there's a chemical reaction. Why do people bother to do drugs when they've got that? Puts them on an all-time high. People with bipolar, they understand exactly. Because we all had a manic phase. Manic phase is a total high. It creates endorphins, makes you feel invincible. You're God. And you put humans on the food list. But then you crash. You hit bottom. You go from one to boom, drop. And it will be equal to your high. So if you had a really terrific couple of weeks going on high, no sleep, running, you were everything, you were this and God, and when you go to drop, boom, you go from something to nothing. No balance in that, is there? But with bipolar, eventually you do find a balance. You find a window, and it's during that window that you're able to look at things and break them down and make sense. How many people are running right now with their emotions? How many people are running right now with their egos and not stopping? Do you know that when we act based on high intense emotion, like say anger, we say things that we don't mean because the anger wants to hurt, it wants to cause pain, so it says things to hurt. High of lust. They'll say anything at that point to get you where they want you. Because at that moment, there's only one thing they're interested in, and that is their desire. And you know what you became at that moment? An object. You became the object of the desire. And they'll say anything and tell you anything you want to hear to get that desire satisfied. It's a high emotion. Back down. Balance it. It's not what it's about. Look at another person. Don't look at that person for what they have, what they look like, what they do. That person is another extension of you. You're an extension of them. And about what's on the outside. Because what's on the outside, this physical, is nothing. It's an empty shell. That's all it is. It's what's inside. We deny ourselves. And we have a mind that's attached to ego, and it tells us how we should feel. And some people get off on the rush. Some people like being mean. They like the adrenaline that it produces, the way that their physical body reacts to it. They're making themselves sick too. Because every time you hurt another person or anything, you're hurting yourselves. And when you're throwing a stone, you're hurting another person who you don't even know. You've never lived their life. You've never walked in their footsteps. And we do it. We all do. When are we going to stop? It's your foundation on what you do with the stones. So many dots. You hold the keys. It begins with you. It doesn't begin with your neighbor. It begins with you. It's plain and simple. You have a good day. These are our thoughts.